So Italy's Giorgia Meloni has just announced a huge crackdown on radical Islam in Italy. Her government has just brought forward a new law that will ban the burqa, ban the niqab, which will issue fines if people wear them in public places like schools, like universities, like hospitals. They've announced a big crackdown on what they call cultural crimes like virginity testing and new prosecutions for things like forced marriages and much greater scrutiny of what is going on inside mosques. Now, I don't know about you. My personal view, I think we should be doing some of these things right here in the UK, drawing a line in the sand, making it clear that we expect people who come into our country to play by the rules, to respect our culture, to respect our traditions, and to assimilate into wider society. We cannot have segregated communities. We cannot have a different legal system. We cannot have symbols that underline our cultural differences. So I think Giorgia Meloni's ahead of the curve.
The Italian Prime Minister, Giorgia Meloni, has deported this imam who has lived in Italy for over 30 years. A Pakistani imam in Italy preached that Muslims must fight infidels or suffer catastrophic consequences. The next day, Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni called for his deportation despite him living in Italy for 30 years. And the Italians are in full support of this. They are backing her so boldly, saying that she did the right thing. How can you, an Islamic imam, calling for people to take away infidels in another person's country? What does that even mean? You want to bring what is happening in your country, what you are running away from, into Italy. And she ordered for his immediate deportation. He did not spend the night in that country. They deported him. They arrested him immediately. Anybody who speaks of other religions as infidels in Italy will face immediate deportation. This is so remarkable.
Italy just made a move that has governments across Europe paying attention. So, as part of the broader enforcement push, Italian authorities confirmed the deportation of Imam, who has lived there for over 30 years, citing legal and security grounds. So officials say the move followed existing law. Critics argue it raises questions about due process, political signaling. So as we've seen, this is where the debate intensifies, because deporting a religious figure alongside a policy shift sends a message not just domestically but internationally. Let's watch these reactions from the audience and we will come back with more.
If I am in this country and I cannot abide by the law of this country, I think I should be deported as well. Why do you come to a country, you know the rules, you know the regulations, especially when you come illegally, you know everything is on the book. If you cannot follow that, if you're not okay with UK being a Christian country, maybe go to a Muslim country then.
Yeah.
There are many, there are plenty. So yeah, that's the reason why I'm doing it. I don't see any ethnic minority, unfortunately. So, but yeah, it is what it is.
So on one hand, as an immigrant, you've given a voice to other immigrants who perhaps feel the same way as you, but they're scared to speak out.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, I'm sure you have some people who really hate you, who really... How do you deal with that?
Well, I've got a lot of death threats. Unfortunately, the police won't help me. The police aren't here to help me. They've got I do get a lot of death threats, and it is only from my own community. So that is a different thing. But yeah, there isn't any, how do you say? I know you're saying there are silence, minority or majority, you can call it, from my own community. But the problem is, I don't want them to be silent anymore, because it's not helping anybody. I can sit at home and I can just avoid all of this and I can enjoy my life. I can have a very good life. But because I'm doing what I'm doing, I've lost my job from the council, because they said to me, unless you stop saying that the white people are racist, you can't have this job. And unfortunately for me, I've got too much gratitude to the country and towards the white people. So I think because of that, I wouldn't stop. But yeah, no, you talk about silence, majority or minority. I don't think there's any, because I do get occasionally messages from the people from my own community saying, oh, we're very proud of what you're doing. We wouldn't do it, but you're doing it. To those people, I've always said, why don't you come and do it with me? Why don't you come up? Because this is the time. If you're not going to do it now, there is too much divide already. And that is because a lot of communities, rather than saying that, okay, if somebody looks at a Pakistani, what it is that we are representing. But if you're a Pakistani, you come to a country, what it is people say about you when they look at you. Unfortunately, what the Pakistani community has done, there is nothing positive, unfortunately. It's very unfortunate, because I am a Pakistani. But unless more people come out and do what I'm doing, it's not going to help nobody.
So supporters frame it as enforcement, and on the other side, opponents frame it as escalation. And European institutions are now watching how this plays out.
In Italy, the government is eyeing a new law that could ban the burqa and niqab in all public places. Critics arguing that this bill risks targeting Muslim women, restricting religious freedom, and fueling divisions in Italy's multicultural society. But supporters pointing to France and other countries that have imposed similar bans, saying it's about secular values and national sovereignty. And as that debate intensifies, questions remain. Is it a measure to protect civil liberties or a step too far into personal and religious choices? Here's what is known so far. The right-wing ruling party, Brothers of Italy, says the move is part of a broader push against what it calls Islamic separatism, including stricter rules on mosque funding and forced marriages. And now, for the unversed, the burqa is a full-body garment covering a woman from head to toe, includes a mesh screen over the eyes. A niqab leaves the area around the eyes clear. If the ban comes into effect in Italy, it would prohibit the wearing of garments covering the face in all public spaces, including shops, schools, offices. And those who violate the ban reportedly would face a fine. The proposal is part of a broader bill intended to address what the right-wing party of the Prime Minister has described as cultural separatism associated with Islam. The head of immigration for Brothers of Italy has said on Wednesday, I'm quoting, it's a bill that will essentially deal with regulating the funding of mosques and with preventing and banning the use of the full face veil. It also emphasizes the legislation against forced marriages. In Italy, we apply our laws which are based on a specific set of values, quote unquote. Now, this proposed bill would include increased penalties for forced marriages and requirements that religious groups not formally recognized by the state disclose any foreign funding. They draw inspiration from France, which was the first European country, remember, to introduce a full burqa ban in 2011. And since then, Belgium, Denmark, Switzerland, several others have imposed full or partial bans on women's clothing related to Islam. Italy already has a law dating back to 1975 that prohibits complete face covering in public places. Though it does not specifically mention burqas, the bill also introduces several new criminal provisions, including penalties for virginity testing, while strengthening punishment for forced marriages by adding religious coercion as grounds for prosecution.
This isn't happening in a vacuum. Several European countries already have similar laws, but Italy's timing and political climate are what is turning this into a Europe-wide conversation. At the core of this debate is a question Europe still hasn't fully answered. So how do governments balance public security with individual freedoms in society that are becoming more diverse every year? And so human rights groups are raising concerns. Government officials are defending legal consistency, and the voters across Europe are watching closely. Let's continue with the clips that I have, guys.
There was a bill in Italy proposed earlier this week designed to curb Islamic fundamentalism, separatism, and extremism within the country. The first notable part of the bill is that it prohibits the wearing of full religious face coverings out in public spaces. So that would be things like a burqa, that would prevent you from being able to see their face. This is really building off of prior laws that they already had that forbade the use of any sort of face covering in public spaces within the country. The next part of the bill covers funding for mosques and Islamic religious teaching institutions. Essentially, they have to be fully transparent from here on out, and they're not allowed to take foreign religious funds. The proposed bill also bans and criminalizes certain unethical and amoral Islamic practices that are particularly disgusting, such as virginity testing and arranged marriages. Those are now formally, based on this bill, banned in Italy, and they come with criminal charges if you attempt to partake in them. The proposed bill, as well as the Prime Minister of Italy, made it very clear that Sharia will not be allowed to take precedent over Italian law and be used to circumvent the Italian justice system. Austria, Denmark, Belgium, and the Netherlands have all followed suit, proposing very similar bills throughout the week since this bill was first proposed. This bill is likely to pass in Italy because they currently have a party majority in the country's government systems, which is really encouraging for Europe. It helps curb the expansion of Sharia in the West, as well as sort of tells Islamists, tells Muslims, tells these fundamentalists who think they can come into the West and change our culture that no, actually you can't, and you cannot treat women that way. You cannot behave in this manner. This is our country, this is our home, and you have to abide by our rules. And also to the inevitable comments asking about what about Christian law, what about Jewish law, etc., etc. There isn't really an equivocable between Sharia and anything like that. Like we don't have a version of that in the Judeo-Christian faith. But also, what's practiced and suggested and told to be done in the Judeo-Christian faith is nothing like what happens in Islam under Sharia. Those are two very different things with very different rule systems and very different outlooks on justice.
What happens next? Because if Italy's approach holds up legally and politically, other governments could follow or be forced to respond. Question isn't what Italy just did, it's what European does next. This debate is not going away, and it won't stay confined to one country. So where do you think Europe draws the line? Give your views on the comments section below and keep it respectful. Thank you for watching this video up to this particular point. In case you're new on this channel, welcome to the family and kindly consider subscribing, like, and comment. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.